you were talking a little bit about all the different herbs that you had learned from your mom. And I want to touch on how your amazing daughter has started this $10 million tea company, being exposed to tea culture through you and your husband. And I remember speaking with Sashee once, and she was saying the chai is something that she really loves, like all those really herby type of teas. And so, you know, Katie is doing her Facebook show with her daughter, and you have inspired your daughter with all these different herbs. Do you remember, I don't know, what was your favorite teas to prepare for your children? And then also a little bit about making tea drops at the very start and making all these different, you know, homemade recipe tea bath bombs, basically. Yeah.
Well, when Sashee and her brother used to get ill, I would give them chrysanthemum tea and with rock sugar. So they loved it. It soothes their stomach. And I think it's sort of cooling for the system. So they always remember that. However, they really, I think, drank more tea when they went to their grandmother's house, because Sri Lanka, you know, the tea, it was the biggest exporter of tea at one time. So my mother-in-law was from Sri Lanka, and the Sri Lankan people, at every function, they would serve a form of chai. And so my daughter grew up in that culture, you know, and it was a communal thing. Everybody, all the ladies would get together and they'd be in one corner of the room and all the men in the other. But during the afternoon, after lunch, they would serve this tea. And so my daughter always loved this tea. And ever since she was young, even when we used to go to England, she would love to have tea. So I think I always thought she would have a tea shop. Because one time she was in high school and she told me this concept of serving teas from all over the world and having this big, like a pavilion. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's so much work, you know, labor intensive. So it started very young with her. And I guess, as she tells it, it was because of the inconvenience of having tea at work when she joined eBay, when she graduated, that forced her to make something of that was really good with loose leaf tea, because tea bags are useless, because at the bottom of the barrel, the tea dust, that's what it is. They would package into tea bags. So you're not getting quality tea. So she wanted to overcome this, and she started doing for herself these tea drops. And then somehow her friends liked it too. And that's a whole new story on how it became popular. She had, anyway, yeah. So that's how her tea drop started. But she started very young. She loved tea. And yes, we always served tea at our, you know, at the Chinese culture. We never had, you had sugar or milk. That was, I mean, you don't do that with Chinese tea. So I love oolong tea, which is a darker kind of red tea. And that sort of cuts the grease really well. That's probably one of my favorite. And jasmine is wonderful, you know, with the fragrance of the jasmine. And then the rose tea is not as popular, but they have that. But there's a variety of Chinese tea. And yes, we did have tea at home, but I was really never a big tea drinker as such, even though it was always served, you know, everywhere you went. But definitely in the Sri Lankan culture, Indian culture too.
Wow.